And now to get a better understanding of how these events have shaped the year, I'm now joined live in the studio by political analyst Jide Johnson. Thank you so much, Jide, for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year in advance to our listeners and viewers all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Compliments. Now, Nigeria's presidential election and the several governorship and parliamentary elections were held in 2023. How would you assess the political climate in the country this year?
Well, there were a lot of expectations with respect to 2023 general elections with specific focus on the presidential election because for the first time, we had more than two parties combating and competing for that office, and then you know that it also marks the end of the tenure of a president that has completed his tenure for 8 years. So the stakes were high. The promises by the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct a free and fair election, most importantly, credible election, was also promised by INEC with respect to the introduction of the IRF and all of that technology that were deployed for the election. And then at the end of the day, a lot of Nigerians were disappointed because you had a lot of people participating in the political process for the very, very, very first time because it was an election whereby you have a lot of first-time voters who had an aspiration that there's an opportunity for them to change the political conversation and the political landscape in Nigeria by participating in the process. However, and to a large extent, INEC did not comply with its own regulation. And to make the matters much more complicated was the Supreme Court, when that matter became an issue of litigation with respect to what is acceptable, what is legal, and what is not legal, and with respect to whether INEC guideline INEC should comply with its own guideline which it released, or INEC should comply with the Constitution of Nigeria with respect to the announcement of results. The Supreme Court, on the part of on its own part, sided with INEC that INEC can use whatever means to announce the result. So, as a result of that, there were a lot of tension, and you recall eyes on the judiciary, the hashtag on eyes on judiciary, which trended a lot of time, which put judiciary on the spotlight, were some of the issues that characterize the political landscape. So looking forward to 2027, I think that some of the challenges we have with respect to 2023 election should be addressed by the National Assembly so that we give a legal bone to the issue of transmission of result, the issue of transmission of result electronically from the polling unit through the IRF, and then the compilation of result through the IRF portal, not relying on the form EC8, which we thought that we have gone through, and then that which will bring about the confidence and the credibility in elections.
And Mr. Johnson, what can we say the Nigerians should expect in the next 4 years?
Well, I think that what the president should focus on, because all litigation with respect to the presidency has been resolved, the Supreme Court has ruled that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the duly elected president. And I think that what the government should focus on is for them to understand that, one, government is not run by propaganda. Two, electionary campaign has ended. It's now about governance. And governance has to do with transparency, it has to do with communication, and it has to do with relating with the people and not thinking that we are still within the electioneering campaign, because you still see the approach that the government has adopted to its communication program, to its policies. Is like the government still think that they are still in an electioneering campaign. You could look at the issue of the removal of fuel subsidy. You can look at the issue of the unified foreign exchange market, or you should even look at the one which is recent, which the president made by proclamation that 50% 50% cut has been given to any Nigerians that want to travel through the length and breadth of Nigeria for the Christmas season. The president should understand that this is a democracy, and in a democracy, there are institutions of governments that should be involved, and we operate a federalism. You have the judiciary, you have the executive, and then you have the tiers of government, the local, the state, and the federal government operating. And you should understand that there must be a symbiotic relationship between these tiers of government and organs of government for us to run for him to run a nation other than by ruling by proclamation. That proclamation on his inaugural speech created a problem, and we have not recovered from it. In the sense that, one, Nigeria is a monoproduct economy. We are highly dependent on our energy source is still petroleum product. It's still the crude oil. And the president said, you know what, we have removed fuel subsidy, and if you are not making more money from foreign exchange in terms of making money, contributing to your gross domestic product, there's no way the value of Naira can compete effectively with the value of dollar. And that's why you have seen that Naira has totally collapsed as a result of that pronouncement by the president without having a clear understanding of the economic situation before making that pronouncement. So government is not by proclamation. Governance is by policies. Policies are well thought out with various institutions and organs of government working on the policies before the president makes the pronouncement.
Right. Now, some bigwigs in Nigeria's political space, including the president, Bola Tinubu, and the former military leader, retired General Ibrahim Babangida, have repeatedly stated the need for the involvement of young people in governance. What is the possibility of this, looking at the political state of the country right now?
Well, when people, as far as I'm concerned, I think age should not be a factor. Age is like talking about diversity, inclusion, and equity, which we also call federal character in Nigeria, which has bedeviled the American politics. I think, for me, it's not a function of age, it's a function of capacity. Where if you are 78 and you can do the job, you get the job done. If you are 20, you can get the job done, you get the job done. We have seen governors that are young governors, and we have seen the way they've performed. And so when you use age as the determinant factor to determine leadership is not a function of age, but leadership is a function of capacity. And that's the direction which I want us to look at. And unfortunately, when they want to use their tactics and their strategy of divide and rule, they talk about age, they talk about gender, they talk about ethnicity, they talk about religion. And whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or you're a traditional worshiper, if it rains, it's going to fall on you. If the sun shines, it's going to fall on you. So it doesn't really matter whether you are young or you are old. So as far as I'm concerned, the focus should be on capacity. How old was Babangida when he was the military de facto leader of Nigeria? How old was Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was elected as senator in Lagos State? How old was Obasanjo when he became the president of Nigeria, when he became the head of state of Nigeria in 1976? How old was Gowon when Gowon, by default, became the president of Nigeria? So when people talk about age, I think they're just trying to cause distraction and cause division among the younger elements. As far as I'm concerned, the focus we should have is about capacity. Look, the two contenders for the presidential election in 2024 in America, they are about 70s. Their septuagenarian is Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Those are the two leading contenders. So as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about age, for me, I think it's a distraction and it's a divide and rule strategy. Babangida was self-acclaimed president because he was a military dictator when he was close to his 40s. So I don't share their thinking and their values with respect to that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jide Johnson, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this. And we look forward to seeing how the political landscape will look like in 2024. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we want to extend our condolences to the good people of Ondo State.
Of course.
And to my friend that we got buried today, who died some few weeks back. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.